Day 4. Coercive control, emotional. Typically, when we think of domestic violence, we think of physical violence. While this is still the case in many incidences of domestic violence, we have seen that domestic violence also manifests itself through emotional, psychological, religious, financial, and sexual control. These forms of manipulation frequently do not leave physical marks and are not illegal in most states and countries. In my journey, I've experienced all of the forms of manipulation. As I shared previously, I have a strong sense of empathy. I also had a huge gap in understanding what love was. This was partially due to the fact that there was a cultural difference between my cultural upbringing, the youngest daughter of immigrant Chinese parents, and the culture that surrounded me, American. In traditional Chinese culture, there's a concept called saving face. This is where we do not publicly shame or guilt someone. There are also superstitions, like if you don't eat all of your grains of rice at mealtimes, each of those grains left behind will become a blemish on your future spouse. There are also traditions, like flowers are given to someone when they die, not at other times of life like celebrations. There are also different practices in displaying affection, such as the Chinese hug, very different from the American bear hug. The topic of sex was taboo. As a young girl and a young woman, I was frequently confused by the differences in the two cultures. I was often ashamed of being different. I was bullied for being different and called names like flat face and slant eyes. I'd been taught to go with the flow, don't make waves, and to not be so emotional. And I felt guilty for breaking traditions. As a young woman caught between two cultures, I became a rebel. To some of my perpetrators, my rebelliousness became something of a game to be able to control. I did not know what love was. I longed for the physical relationships that Americans were depicted as having in the books, movies, and television shows. I longed for my white knight in shining armor who would rescue me from the life I had with my Chinese family that was so shameful and who would take me away. I longed for what I did not have. Now, as a woman who has experienced the results of the myths and misperceptions of the white knight in shining armor, and the realization that sex does not equal love, I am able to break the unhealthy cycle of codependency, and I am more able to value my worth. This is empowerment coupled with empathy. This allows me to do the right thing, and this allows me to be vulnerable enough to share my stories in the hopes that others will not have to experience what I have been through. Speak up. Empathy and empowerment. We have the power. We can choose.